Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe. Forward into battle, see his banners go. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Oh, for a faith that will not shrink, though pressed by every foe, that will not tremble on the brink of any earthly woe, that will not murmur or complain beneath a chastening rod, but in the hour of grief or pain will lean upon its God. A faith that shines more bright and clear when tempests rage without, that when in danger knows no fear, in darkness feels no doubt. Lord, give us such a faith as this, and then whate'er may come, we'll taste and hear the hallowed bliss of an eternal home. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Oh, may it all my powers engage to do my Master's will. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and O thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give. Help me to watch and pray, and on thyself rely, assured if I my trust betray, I shall forever die. Rise up, O man of God, have done with lesser things, give heart and mind and soul and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O man of God, his kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O man of God, the church for you doth wait. Her strength unequal to her task, rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ, tread where his feet have trod, as brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God. Good evening, and good evening. Welcome to our Sunday evening edition of Evening Edification. This is the dual stream, only without the duo. Seeing as how CJ is on the road again, just can't wait to get on the road again. He is due back tomorrow night, but he is traveling, so prayers on his behalf. You just get me today. Just me. How's everyone doing? Hey, George, how you doing? Good evening, O'Shea. I already know how he's doing. Doing well for an old man. Yes, I saw your email earlier about possibility for a lift chair. They had that'd be a few months ago now. They had a retirement home or nursing home that closed its door over east of me or west of me, and there was a bunch of lift chairs on the auction for that were gone up for auction, and unfortunately they were more expensive than I was able to pay for. I tried to get a few, but they had different sizes. The really nice ones obviously went for a really nice price, and the other ones still went for a pretty penny. I did get some hospital beds though. So if you needed one of those, I got one. What is that one? Nope. Ah, how'd I do? Do I want to open that can of worms? Trying to find some songs. What do we got tonight? Got 4 people tonight. 2 on mine and 2 on CEM. Hello, Teresa. How was the audio on that? I didn't get it. I haven't gone back and watched the video. Oh, well, thank you. CEM, Teresa. Christian Edification Ministries. Teresa says, okay, sorry about that. What this is? CEM, this is the umbrella under which CJ and I do our streaming Christian Edification ministries. It's was our brainchild, I guess you might say, to where we could try to get things out, videos, and eventually we're hoping to do podcasts and things to where people can be edified through through the word, through the programs that we put out. George says that the audio wasn't as good on there as it was here, and the camera wiggled some. Yes, we're still trying to figure the work the kinks out on the audio. For that, it's really a pain in the patootie. I bought a Bluetooth microphone for my phone, which is what we use to stream, and for some reason it does not work at all. It works on other things, just not on Facebook Live for some reason. Hello, Carissa. Good to have you here. Dual streaming without the duo is what we're kind of titled this one here tonight. I'm going to sing with this one right here. Anywhere is home. Earthly wealth and fame may never come to me, and a palace fair here mine may never be. But let come what may, if Christ for me doth care, anywhere is home if he is only there. Anywhere is home, let come and go what may. Anywhere I roam, he keeps me all the way. So for his dear sake, my cross I'll meekly bear. Anywhere is home, if Christ my Lord is there. Oft I'm tossed about and driven by the foe, sad within a thought wherever I may go. But I press along, still looking up in prayer, for His home, sweet home, if Christ is only there. Anywhere is home, let come and go what may. Anywhere I roam, He keeps me all the way. So for His dear sake, my cross I'll meekly bear. Anywhere is home, if Christ my Lord is there. I will labor on till I am called away, till the morn shall dawn of that eternal day, looking unto Him who keeps me in His care. Anywhere is home, if Christ my Lord is there. Anywhere is home, let come and go what may. Anywhere I roam, He keeps me all the way. So for His dear sake, my cross I'll meekly bear. Anywhere is home, if Christ my Lord is there. You know, I've never really considered that one, George. But there were some animals that gave up their life for the clothes that Adam and Eve had to wear, weren't there? Remember, you guys can request songs if you want me to sing any, or we can talk topics too. I had not actually considered the that as a sacrifice. I just simply um, just figured that just considered it to be a normal type of a. I really shouldn't say normal, I guess, but anyway, normal type of killing to for providing for one's family. It's interesting. It's an interesting idea that it was a sacrifice, and the fact that actually animals did have to sacrifice their life. One of the things with the account of Cain and Abel and the sacrifice there was the fact that Um, we don't know when God told them to sacrifice to him. We simply know that they knew, he must have, because they knew to sacrifice. Yeah, you see that from Genesis chapter 20 or chapter 1 verses 29 and 30, I believe, where God gave them food, or all the herbs of the field to for sustenance. It wasn't until Genesis 9 that he opened it up and gave them the animals as well. I do wonder, and I think that in what we have is part of the corruption, if you will, of the earth was the killing of animals for food later on. I don't have a topic for tonight. Normally, with the dual stream, we would have done Acts chapter beginning in, well, finished Acts chapter 2, but we're not going to do that without having CJ present. So I don't have one. So we can go look at that. Let me hit this one. Let me hit this song here first, and then we'll go into Genesis 1 and then look at this topic. The topic of killing, sacrifice, and food. Food. Walk with me. I do not have all the answers. I do not. No, I have a book that has the answers to life's important questions anyway. But go ahead and bring a question. We'll look at it. Walk with me, lest mine eyes no longer see all the glory, all the story of your love. Talk to me, like you spoke so tenderly when you talked there, when you walked there by the sea. Let me follow in the footsteps that trod the shore of Galilee. Let me learn to pray like he did in the garden of Gethsemane. Take my hand, teach me, Lord, to understand all my duty, all the beauty of your love. Talk with me, lest mine ears no longer hear all the wonder, all the beauty of your grace. Walk with me as you walk so lovingly when you walked there, when you talked there by the sea. Let me follow in the footsteps that trod the shores of Galilee. Let me learn to pray like he did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Take my hand, teach me, Lord, to understand all my duty, all the beauty of your love. What's your question, George? Let's look. Oh, what was the determining factors of the regards to the clean and unclean animals that Noah took on the ark? Well, the first and foremost determining factor is those that God said was clean. However, I think that I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that God didn't specify clean and unclean animals, specify to man what clean and unclean animals were until Moses' day. And being as how Moses was the penman of Genesis, or is commonly believed, then the clean and unclean animals would be something that that he and the Israelites would understand. However, when we look through the there we go. Excuse me. When we look through the account of the ark, God specified to Noah exactly how to build it and out of what material. But then he said, he specified to, what Moses records for us is that in verse 19 here and following of Genesis 6, every living thing that of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall thou bring into the ark to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Now, that's not limiting limiting the number of animals per se, so much as the fact that there will be a male and a female. Birds, cattle, creeping thing, to keep them alive. And we know we can tell that this is more the case of a male and a female, two of every sort. In other words, two of every type of animal, a male and a female. So whether it was, uh, whether it was a bird, specific species of bird, there must be a male and a female. Whether there was, or maybe it was a specific type of cow, there must be a male and a female. Whether, or perhaps it was maybe it was a reptile, there still must be a male and a female. And the reason I can say this is because of the next chapter, wherein we see that for every clean beast there was 7. So there were 7 males and 7 females. There was 2 of every kind, a male and a female. Let's see here. Imagine them trying to load that in 7 days. I'm reading through here in the account. God commanded Noah to bring 7 clean and 7 unclean, or excuse me, 7 clean and what is it? Every clean beast thou shalt take to thee 7 and 7, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean 2, the male and his female. So there were 2 pairs of the unclean, and there were 7 pairs of the clean. Did he detail, and then that brings up a question: did he actually detail to Noah which was clean and unclean? I know that he detailed to Israel what was clean and unclean. If I read, when I read through this, and I see that God telling Noah that he's going to bring 2 of every kind, male and a female, and that 7 of every clean beast, male and female, 7 pair, and 2 of every not clean beast, male and his female. What are your thoughts? You don't believe that would be 2 pair? Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee 7 and 7, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean 2, the male and his female. That is a possibility. Probability. Okay, so one pair then of the unclean, 1 pair, and 7 pair of the clean. It does say 2 pair. So That specifies that one male and one female of the unclean beast, of each unclean beast. How did he get them all in there, Teresa? A fun little thing to go research is the Ark project there in Tennessee. I think is it Kentucky or Tennessee? Built by the Adventures in Genesis, I believe it is, group, and realize the actual enormity of the Ark. It had one door, which was big enough to bring any of the animals needed in. It's also safe to say that he didn't have to bring full-grown animals in, as in full adults. Been there twice. Oh yeah, I didn't know that. That must be fun. Terrible walk though, from what I understand. It is interesting. The language right here in Genesis 7, verse 8 and 9 is quite interesting. And I think this is what George. This is the part that you're leaning toward, which leads me to believe the same way. I do believe that the definition was given under the old law, by Moses, and Moses wrote this with the audience, his audience at that time, in mind. But it says here, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark. So Noah went in, and there came the other animals in. I should say the animals came in unto him, as God commanded Noah. I think that's a safe bet. Not safe bet. Safe explanation right there. Teresa got pushed around with a wheelchair in the ark, so she didn't have to do the walking. Also understand that there was one window in the ark, and that's not going to let a lot of light in. And most animals are going to be very passive during times of darkness. But then again, verse 15 15 here, it says again that they went in unto Noah. So Noah went in first, and then the animals came in. So, and I believe, it, with that logic, I believe that God brought him the animals that he was to take. That included, by the way, dinosaurs of all life. And there's been accounts of dinosaurs, and this is a totally different, totally off topic from what we started with, but it's a question that seems to get brought up a lot. Um, that Well, what about the dinosaurs? The dinosaurs are extinct today. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they were always extinct. Yes, the majority of them died off through a cataclysmic flood, but there were still dinosaurs saved. And we can tell that because of the depiction of dinosaurs by people around the world far after. For example, in Malaysia, I believe it is, Malaysia or Indonesia, there was a palace that was built by an emperor in about 1100, 1186, somewhere right in that neighborhood. And in one of the pillars, there is a uh, lifelike, or I say true to life depiction of a triceratops. Now, how would he know what a triceratops looked like in 1186? The Inca burial stones is another good one. The um, petroglyphs on the walls of places even throughout the United States depicting what Indians or I should say, what, you know, First Nations, if you will, or however you want to portray them. What the people that were here before we came, what they saw. And they saw what can only be construed as dinosaurs. How would they know that? And if they hadn't experienced it, especially as old as the whatchamacallits are, drawings, as new as the drawings are, I should say. The fact that they've been finding dinosaur fossils with um, uh, soft tissue, that's the word I was looking for, in them, which should have been turned to stone eons ago. Teresa says, so after Noah and his family and all the animals got out, what happened to the ark? Well, first and foremost, we're not told. Would it be wonderful to find it? Certainly. Secondly, this was a piece of engineering that was covered inside and out with pitch to protect it from the water. Thou shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. So for a good portion of time, it would have been protected from the elements. Many are the people that believe that they have found it. Whether they have or not, there's no definite proof. Regardless, some things we are going to have to understand that time and tide wait for no man. And that after a couple thousand years, it would be pretty difficult to find much of any wood structure unless it was buried in peat or a glacier. George brings up another point. We need to really watch how we depict the ark when we teach children that we show it as realistic as possible. I also, George, have an issue with the way that when people depict the ark, they have this sailing ship type of a depiction, full to the brim of animals hanging their heads out the window. Um, when in actuality, the ark was more of a barge-like structure, or one of the big. You might almost think of it as a container ship size thing, and it was perfectly situated to handle the waves and the elements and not tip over. And there was only one window, one door. Hi, Vera. We're talking a little bit here about Noah's Ark. Um, so we really need to watch how we depict the Ark and try to make the stories of, or the accounts, I should say. I use the word stories and accounts kind of interchangeably, but I don't want to give the wrong impression. These are true to life accounts. They're not stories. They're not made up. They are true to life accounts in the book of Genesis, and indeed in the entirety of the Bible. So the accounts in the Bible need to be brought, and this is one thing I strive to do in my reading, is show that these people were real people. They had real emotion. They lived real lives in real times. If we truly found it, people would worship it. For example, George says, check out the bronze serpent that Moses raised up. In 2 Kings 18:4, we have, isn't it Josiah? $18.4, excuse me. 18:4, there we go. Hezekiah was the king. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that David his father did. He removed the high places and break the images and cut down the groves and break in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made. For unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it, and he called it Nehushtan. I think that's really quite a bit of it. I mean, we seek for people seek for confirmation that the Bible is true or that it's false by seeking evidence of these stories or of these accounts. And yet some of this is designed to specifically be taken by faith. It's not pertinent to our salvation that we find the Ark of Noah, or that we find the Ark of the Covenant, for example. It's not pertinent to our faith that we find evidence of the flood, which they have, by the way. And that's quite important to understand that, yes, it might be nice for us, but why are we seeking it? Is our faith strong enough to believe without it? Do we think that other people will really believe even though we present so much evidence to them? They had Christ there in front of them, and they refused to believe him and his word, even though he did miracles. They had the Son of God. I always do wonder what it would be like if we found the ark. Genealogists, for example, have been able, or genealogists. Oh, that's not the word I'm looking for. The ones that deal with DNA and genes have determined that all life on this planet, all humans, I should say, have descended from one unique female. Isn't that interesting? With all the variations in our DNA and our gene pool, they have been able to determine that we have all descended from one unique female. Vera says, I feel like when you look around and see all the connections and design in um, creation, it takes a leap not to believe. Atheism is just as much a religion as Christianity is. Atheism, of course, being the belief that there is no God. Well, that still is a belief, and you still worship at the altar of humanism and at the altar of your God. For if there is no God, then that means you are a law unto yourself, and therefore you are worshiping your creator. My dad tells of when he used to work in the hardware store. There's a guy that came in, and I think it was one of Dad's bosses pointed him out and said, "Well, there's a self-made man. He worked hard and got where he was, but." And Dad's like, "Yeah," and he worships his creator. And he also uses the same idea in regard to Frank Sinatra. He was a self-made man who worshipped his creator, basically saying that he was his own god. Teresa says, it's like I was told that science found a structure of Jesus' face that can't be true because Jesus wasn't buried in the ground. He rose. Well, they want to try to claim that the Shroud of Turin was, there was an image in the Shroud of Turin, and that was the face of Jesus. But because Jesus was buried in the ground. He was buried in the cave there, the new grave from Joseph of Arimathea, I believe it was. And the burial clothes were left behind when he rose, because Peter and John saw the clothes laying folded on the there in the grave when they stooped and looked in. George says, before I jump onto George's comment, it's the fact that with the Shroud of Turin, how can you claim that? I mean, how can you believe that the shroud is the face of Jesus when Jesus didn't see corruption? And therefore, there would be no reason for his face to be imprinted on these cloths. George says it's like people wanting miracles today, yet John 20 and verse 30, many other signs, therefore, yes, that one is 20 and verses 30 and 31 are very important to our discussion tonight. Not just 20 and 21, which says many other signs, therefore, Jesus perform in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book, but these have been written, that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name. But also Hebrews chapter 2, verses 1 through 4 is very important. Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip. For if the word spoken by messengers, and I use the word in regard to whether it be heavenly messenger or even earthly messengers at that time, Uh, For if the word spoken by messengers was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Lord, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him? God also bearing them witness with both with signs and wonders and diverse miracles and gifts of the Holy Spirit according to his own will. You know, we have plenty. In fact, if you were to take and examine the scriptures to find the proof of that Jesus speaks about in Mark 16 verses 17 and 18 about the signs, you'll find pretty much every one of those. I'm not sure about the poison, the drinking poison, but you'll pretty much find all the rest of them for sure written somewhere within the book of Acts. And so these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. There's plenty enough proof written for our instruction, our learning, for our faith. Vera says, I jokingly say that I have more respect for people who believe we come from aliens, bless their hearts. At least they recognize this didn't all happen by accident. And Teresa says the tomb, but they didn't dig dirt to put him down. That's true. I mean, it was already excavated. So O'Shea says, I've always kind of wondered if someone found the Ark of the Covenant and touched it, would they still drop dead? Good question. The Ark, though, the mercy seat has changed. Mercy seat's in heaven. Jesus is our mercy seat and our atonement. So in ultimately, back to our question at hand, when Genesis, the account of the flood in Genesis chapter 6 through 8, when it says that God told Noah to take of every living flesh, or every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall thou bring into the ark to keep them alive with thee. They shall be, here's the 2, male and female. 2, male and female. Fowls after their kind, cattle after their kind, creeping thing after their kind. 2 of every sort shall come in unto them. Okay. And then in 7, we're told that of every clean beast, 7 male and female, 7 pairs of male and female were taken, and 2, a total of 2, 1 pair of unclean beasts were taken. And what we see is then that God was involved in bringing them in, because Noah and his sons went into the ark, and then the animals came in unto them. And the only way that could have happened was if God brought them in. God shut them in. God shut the door of the ark after they were all in. And so the lovely Irish Rover song about the unicorns. And the loveliest of all was the unicorn. You see green alligators and long-necked geese, and humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, and rats and cats and elephants, and sure as you're born, you're never gonna see no unicorn. Anyway, but after that tangent, now God brought them in. Genesis 7 verse 8. 7 and 8 show that Noah was already in the ark, as was his sons and their wives. And the clean beast and the unclean beast went into the ark. 15 and 16, same thing happened. And I think that you can show for sure that the delineation between clean and unclean did not happen until later. That Moses, when God gave it to Moses. And we know what was defined as clean and unclean. If we study the Bible, let's see here. I think it's in 11:4, Leviticus 11. This is the law of the beasts and of the fowl and of every living creature that moveth in the waters and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast and the that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. And what is that law? Well, we go back up. Let's see here. It is 11. Yep. Hebrews 11, or Leviticus 11. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that ye shall eat. Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof. As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in their abomination. So there's different, and you can read through the rest of Leviticus 11 to find the different animals that were clean and unclean. And that was the law. The entirety of the book, chapter 11 of Leviticus details what is clean and what is unclean. George says the Philistines captured the ark. They would have had to touch it. Well, they could have touched the poles to carry it, George. Just as a side note, that doesn't mean they necessarily touched the ark itself. They could have touched the poles because the poles were there so that the people didn't touch the ark itself. And they did not all drop dead. They put it before their God and eventually had the Israelites come and get it. 1 Samuel 4 and 5. It's a matter of faith and reverence to the Israelites, but not the other nations. The ark was again captured and hauled to Babylon, returned by the Medo-Persians when the temple was rebuilt. It is interesting to note that the ark, the information, or the Ark of the Covenant is not mentioned. It seems to disappear around the Babylonian captivity, at the time of the Babylonian captivity, and never mentioned again until Revelation. So who knows? And that's what a lot of people go on. The Ark of the Covenant it disappears. Some people believe it that the Lord took it to heaven. Some people believe it's still here on earth. Me, I believe that it doesn't matter one way or the other where it's at, because it's no longer viable for our faith today. The gold of the ark may be in a wedding ring today, and that's a scary thought, isn't it? Teresa says, well, sisters and brothers, I got to go. It's 10 p.m. Love you all. Love you too, Teresa. You have a good night. I was trying to sum up, Teresa, because we're getting ready. We're at the hour mark, and we try to get out of here at the hour. Sometimes it extends into 2 hours, but trying not to. Try to keep it on track. You have a wonderful evening. Trying to find when it actually last. In 2 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 7, the priest brought the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord unto his place to the oracle of the house, into the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims. That was under Solomon. Then we have in Jeremiah 3 and verse 16. Let's see here. Let's back it up just a little bit and see where we're at. Turn, O ye backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. And it shall come to pass, when ye be multiplied and increased in the land in those days, saith the Lord, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done any more. And at that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. That is the last reference in the Old Testament to the phrase, or the last reference to the phrase Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament. Hebrews 9:4 shows the only place in the New Testament wherein the Ark of the Covenant is ever referenced, being Hebrews 9:4. And when the Hebrew writer details out the information or the antitype of the there's a type anyway, the shadow, if you will, of the old law. And he's talking about the temple and how in the second veil which had the golden censers and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had the manna and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. And over it the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly. They couldn't speak of it in particular. They didn't. It's kind of like they didn't have they had no particular knowledge of it. But we do know then, like I said before, that the Ark of the Covenant is not is not. I don't have the book I'm looking for. Wasn't near at hand. Is not particular to our actual our lives, our faith anymore. We don't need to remember it because we've been taught by the Lord the law that He has placed in our hearts through the Word of God. So. That smells good. This is O'Shea's turkey jerky. And as I get ready to wrap up, we actually smoked a turkey and then jerked it. And it's supposed to be kind of hot, but it had a good flavor to it, according to everybody that tried it yesterday. I haven't tried it yet. So, there is a lot to be said, though, for George's point that says it was a matter of faith. The people of the Philistines didn't drop dead when they moved the Ark of the Covenant. That's some really good turkey jerky. It's got a nice light burn for the hot pepper. But when the Israelites were moving it, when David was moving it to the city of David, to Jerusalem, they put it on the cart. They had to get it on there somehow, and they didn't die then. It was only when Uzziah, I think it's Uzziah, isn't that how to pronounce his name? When he reached out to steady the Ark of the Covenant with his hand, that he died. Uzzah. And I think that is a quite an important important thing. It was a holy relic, if you will, um, to Israel. And it do some interesting things. For example, when the feet of the priest touched the water, when they crossed the Jordan, the water stood up on either side. Joshua chapter 3, I believe it is. Vera, if you come over here, you can have some jerky. Um, when the Philistines put it in the house of Dagon, their god, what happened? The next morning, they found Dagon lying prostrate before before the ark. Well, they stood the Dagon up, and the next morning, not only was he prostrate, he was missing his hands, and the fish god of Israel or of the Philistines was shown to be subservient to the God of Israel. And then, of course, there was the golden emeralds. But so, interestingly enough, as I said, the Ark of the Covenant was a covenant of the old law, was a part of the old law. Ark of the Covenant is no longer in today's world, today's um, in today's religion, today's faith, if you will. I think that's right. Go check. They shall stand upon a heap, and it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, as they that bear the ark were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priest that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood up and rose up upon an heap, very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zeratan. And those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, failed and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. So obviously, those on the downstream side wouldn't have any supply, and so you'd be correct in that there, George. Priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan. And all the Israelites passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed clean over Jordan. So there's a little there's a little bit of confusion in the accounts on my part, because of when Moses and the people crossed the Red Sea, they had the water on either side, but this wasn't the Red Sea, this was the Jordan, and the Jordan was cut off, the water from above that was above from the water below, and the water on the upper side stood up high. It says, gathered in a heap. And what's more impressive is the fact that they actually passed over on dry ground in the midst of the flooding season. And that was, because God wanted it. When God said, when the Ark of the Covenant when the feet of those that bore the ark of the covenant would enter the water, then he would cut that off, and that's what he did. So, good study, good times. We're 20 minutes past our hour cutoff, and I hope that we have been able to view the scriptures in the correct way. If you watched my lesson this morning, like I said, Bible study requires us to look at things in the context and how they fit, how a context fits with other similar passages, and to meditate upon its lessons. "5 miles wide? Wowza." They believe that now that they have found where the passage happened, and it's actually on the other side of what's known as the Sinai Peninsula. And one of the reasons they say they found it is because of pillars that Solomon set up to mark the passage. Another reason is because of the chariot wheels and the chariots that were left in the Red Sea, obviously, as were the bones of the soldiers and the horses. They have found coral encrusted chariot wheels and pieces on the other side of the peninsula. Another side note. So, like, let's see if I can find it. Oh, I don't have any of those down. Okay. I'll have to download some more. Do that later. So anyway, they say that, I like I was saying, I hope this has been a blessing to y'all. We need to make sure that whenever we do study the Bible, that we do that with an open heart and mind. Not necessarily that we're so open-minded that our brains fall out, but rather that we study with all the faculties that God has blessed us with and use that to read logically, examine the scriptures daily, examine the scriptures in context, and meditate upon the message so that we can be approved by God. Thanks for the topic, George. It's been a wonderful time of study, and thanks for being here with me, y'all. Whether we wake to serve God tomorrow here on this earth, or we wake to serve him up there tomorrow, you know where we'll be, because we'll see you then. God bless.